going to hit record after we start live streaming, so continue to bear with me. It's still warming up. It's still going. And I think we're here.
Cool.
Okay, we are here and we are live streaming, and I am about to hit the record button. One moment, please.
Yep.
And we are recording, and I'm going to mute myself.
Thanks, Patrice.
Great, thank you. All right, good morning, everyone. I am going to call the MAPC, excuse me, the MAPC officers meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, October 14th at 2025. And I'm calling the meeting to order at 11:12 a.m. I'm going to call roll really quick. Imai?
Present.
Sam?
Present.
Jen absent, Erin present. Great, thank you so much. All right, first up on the agenda is the approval of minutes from September 15th, 2025. We did have 2 meetings last month. However, next month's meeting or the next officers meeting will approve 2 sets of minutes. So with that, I'm just going to ask for a motion to approve the September 15th, 2025 officer meeting minutes.
So moved.
So moved. Then I'll second.
It's okay. Motion made by Sam, second made by Imai. Rolls required. Imai?
Aye.
Sam?
Aye.
And Erin, aye. And that motion passes. All right. Next up on the agenda is contracts. Executive Director Lizzie, take it away.
Thanks. I'm going to put them just on the screen. Just give me 2 seconds. And I can answer any questions. All right, can you see this? Great. Okay, so these are the pass-through contracts for this month. Nothing like huge to kind of call out, but I'm glad to answer any questions. Almost all of the environment ones are for the Accelerating Climate Resiliency Grant, which we got out the door this last month. It was a huge amount of work from Dan Du on our environment team. And tell me if I'm going too quickly. A number of HMCC and municipal collaboration contracts on homeland dollars that went out the door. And a big amount of funding for our Public Health Excellence Grant in Somerville. Any questions on pass-through?
Erin, I've
Go
got
ahead, Sam.
I just have
the
a
mouse was jumping.
This is a weird question because I should know the answer to this, but on all of these grants, when they're pass-throughs, do we submit the grant, or is the applicant actually them and they write us in as sort of, money will go through?
Most of the time when we're in a pass-through position, the dollars are coming from the state or another entity. In this case, like all the ACR grants came from BAR to MAPC. And then we are the ones that are in that contracting position, which is why you see, because these are all of these are contract agreements where we're the contracting entity with whatever these other entities are.
So we would be in communication with Town of Westford about a project they want to work on or whatever, and then we would submit that grant to the granting authority.
Most of the time we're not it doesn't happen in that order. Like usually we're applying for dollars and we're actually like applying to be in a position where we're going to be passing through monies to cities and towns. So it's very rare that the community will come to us and say, we want you to be the applying entity to pass dollars back to us. Usually we're sort of the initiator. It does happen that way from time to time where communities maybe can't apply, or if there's multiple municipalities where they'll come together and say, we want you to apply on behalf of these multiple municipalities. But I feel like that happens less frequently than us being in the initiator space.
And then say in Westford or City of Chelsea, what if they're not ready to receive the money yet? They're sort of not ready to do anything with it
They
yet.
have to show us, so like for ACR, they have to show us that they are ready to actually receive the dollars. They have to show that like they're really ready for dollars to come in to get the grant.
Okay. All right. No, it's funny. I never really thought about that question.
And then on the Homeland dollars and on the HMCC dollars, it is a little different because they all know exactly how much they're getting. And so these pass-throughs are essentially reimbursement. So they're spending and then coming to us, and we're making sure it's an approved expense, but they have very clear guidelines on how it's approved. So they are already ready to spend the money because they know how much they're going to get.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Sure. All right.
Hey, Lizzie, just curious about the Marblehead, cooling Marblehead's housing future. That just looks interesting. I just want to know a little bit more about it.
Yeah, let me find it. Where is it?
It was like
Oh, there it
third
is.
one down from, yeah.
Yeah. So this is another accelerating climate resiliency grant. And this is one where we're working with the town. So like in a number of the ACR grants this year, we did actually contract directly with community-based organizations. But in Marblehead, we're doing a project with the city around extreme heat. And specifically looking at affordable housing and I think housing authority properties, if I'm not wrong, around extreme heat strategies. So I think part of it is thinking about cool roof work, and some of it is thinking about specific resiliency implementation efforts, like cooling centers. So it's cool. This is I'm excited about this. It was like a slam dunk for ACR.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. All right, should I switch to revenue? Okay. Let me stop sharing here. Revenue. All right, can you guys see this okay? Excellent. Oops. Yeah, okay. Try to make it a little bigger. Yeah, not as many revenue contracts as pass-through contracts. Not entirely surprising. I'm glad to answer any questions about these. We did get our big UPWP cut in this round, which we were glad to see.
I was just going to ask about that. Yeah, sorry. Right.
Glad to see the money come in for this.
Yeah, just to clarify, Lizzie, this is money received. So when we see it on the revenue contract spreadsheet, that means the money has been received, not just promised.
Correct.
Well, not actually all the time. In this case, UPWP, it's come to the state, and then we
signed the contract to say that
it's really a cost reimbursement contract. We bill for them every month, but that is the amount that's been agreed upon. That over a 12-month period, and their fiscal year starts October 1st.
Yeah, that's why it's here.
Okay, thank you.
But the dollars are here in the Commonwealth.
Right.
And is that the amount? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
That's the amount we had in the budget for that line item.
Yeah, that's what we projected more or less on the FY26 budget, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, the portion for this fiscal year, for our fiscal year.
Okay.
Right.
Any other questions? All right.
Great. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Anna. All right,
You're
next up in the agenda is hiring and staff changes.
Sure. So interestingly, for the first time in a long time, we actually have no currently open positions at the agency. It's interesting because we are actually still in a hiring space, but we don't have any positions like posted as job openings. So just to kind of give a little context to that, so our Assistant Director of Arts and Culture, the second Lourdes Alvarez started. she kind of hit the ground running already, and we're really excited to have her here. We are doing finalist interviews for the land use manager position. I expect we'll make a decision by the end of this week. We had two really excellent candidates there, very different. So kind of working with Josh to figure out like what's the right needs for the team. We have hired in municipal collaboration, clean energy and economic development, and all those folks are starting like within the next couple of weeks, which is really good. And then the place where we had an opening is inside community engagement, but they are close to making a final decision on the position we had posted for. At the same time, one staff member in did I say municipal collaboration? I meant community engagement. This staff member in community engagement, another staff member on the team has left. And so because we just did a hire so close in time, we are thinking, and they had, I think, 113 applicants for that community engagement job, which is maybe more than we've ever gotten in a community engagement role. They identified a ton of really good candidates. So we're going to go back to that applicant pool and we'll post the position because we have to post the position, but we'll invite some specific people to apply. So hopefully we can move it along a little faster on the community engagement side. We did also just have a member of our land use team leave, Courtney Lewis, a longtime member of the team. His family had some very serious health issues. And they suffered a loss almost right as soon as he moved home. So he left, and we will be backfilling that position inside the land use team. But because we're hiring the land use manager right now, we're going to wait, I think, and post that position after we have the manager in, and they can help inform that process. But so that's why we don't have any currently open positions on our website, which is really, it's like the first time in a long time that we haven't, but we are very much still actively hiring for a number of positions.
Great. Any questions or comments?
One other thing I'm just glad to share is that we had a staff member inside data services left a few months ago, and I've been working with the data services team to figure out like the right position to hire in that team. I think they put together a job description. I'm like extremely fortunate that my husband has like deep knowledge and understanding of the work that team does. The job description was a little bit of what I'd call a kitchen sink job description, looking for just like that perfect unicorn of a person. And so we've been working to figure out like, what are your real top priorities for this role? What is it you're really trying to bring into the team? And I think at the same time, we might be making some changes to hire some consultant support for some of the work that the data services team does. And so just trying to think about all those pieces together, but that position will also be posted, my guess is within the next couple of weeks. Sorry about that.
Just a general question, Lizzie. Since you're now the new top dog there, how do you feel about your total numbers? Because over the last 10 years, it's obviously grown quite a lot. So how are you feeling about all that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some concern, honestly, that I don't want to get too far, only to see dollars clawed back and need to be like just cognizant and aware of that. I feel like our staff level right now is okay. Interestingly, like the teams that I feel need more support are not the teams where it's easiest to hire more support. And I feel like they need more support just because the workload is really high. One of those places is inside HR, but because our HR team like runs HR for 2 organizations. And it's just like a tremendous amount of work, but it's much harder. Those are all overhead positions. So we have to be really careful. And then, I'm feeling a little cautious even about hiring and doing extra hires inside our project teams, only because I'm worried that dollars will get clawed back. So I feel like we're okay. I keep saying I just want everyone to stay, because I want to like glue everyone's shoes to the ground at the moment. That's really what I want.
And without putting you on the spot at all, how are you thinking about your deputy. Is there anybody you can talk to about all this stuff?
Yes. So we are working on a job description for that deputy role. I think you are all aware that I'm interested in hiring somebody that has some finance background into that space for a number 2 role. I've started collecting. I went to the NARC conference, Executive Directors Conference last Sunday and Monday, and I've started collecting COO and Chief of Staff job descriptions from my colleagues around the country just to kind of get a sense of what are you hiring for? What is the salary range where you are? What are the, and it's really all over the place, honestly. Like some of that number 2 role is like entirely internally focused. Some are more like the job that I had, which is like a mix of internal and external, and sort of what the ED needs. And so I've been having a lot of conversations with Andrea. She's taking the first crack at putting together that job description, and I have her through the end of December. So, but my goal is to try to post in early November so that I could have someone with a little overlap with her.
Great. Thanks.
No, it's a big question.
I mean, do you have anybody to talk to? Like some of these choices are probably tough, and it'd be nice to have somebody you can lean on.
Yeah. No, I think it'll be really important that whoever comes into that role like is a good fit with me too, because we'll work very, very closely together. We will talk all the time.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Sure.
Okay, great. All right. So next up thank you for that. Next up in the agenda is update on federal issues. Topics.
So I wanted to update you on some financial shifts that we saw. I think it was just last week or the week before. It's the week before last. This was the first time we got pretty significant funding changes, and I wanted to share them with all of you. Again, being very mindful of being live streamed and recorded. So the first place where we saw a pullback on funding was we got a call from our program officer at the Economic Development Administration that we would not be receiving the economic development planning funds this year. Just to contextualize this a little bit, MAPC has been an economic development district for a really long time, predating my time at MAPC by a lot. I think we were one of the first, I think almost 15 years. We received these planning funds. They're relatively small dollars. They used to be 30. When I first started at MAPC, they were 30,000, then they moved up to 50,000. The last couple of years, it's been $70,000 a year. And basically it supports the team's work when communities or parts of the region are applying for economic development administration funds. We really like shepherd them through that EDA process. So we got a call from our program officer, and we do the set. We had to like have an approved SED, so that's why we did our 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy plan that was submitted. We were invited to apply. It's actually like an extremely robust application process, and Raul and our economic development team and pretty much everyone in finance was working to shepherd that process very, very closely. It's like a difficult application process for relatively small dollars. We had some back and forth with them. We got all of our ducks in a row, and then we got a call saying that we weren't going to get the funds. Almost all of the New England EDDs were not funded. So the only state that received funding was New Hampshire. Our economic development area, so like the region that our economic development program officer oversees, basically goes from Maine to Virginia. It's like a pretty big swath of the Northeast. And so most of her regions were not funded, did not receive funding, except there were 2 places in Virginia that did not receive funding, and then some of the rest of Virginia received funding. We are already having conversations about how we will backfill this. It's not big dollars, but it is something that we want. It's work that's like extremely important to continue. We don't lose our EDD designation by losing these funds, so we can still continue all of the work. We just need to make sure we have dollars to pay the team to continue to do the work. So that was the first one. I'm glad to take questions, but I want to give you guys the picture. The second place where we're truly expecting to lose funds is we had gotten a grant from DOER to do code work around like building codes work. This was dollars that were coming from the federal government to DOER DOR actually like held for a while on getting the contract out the door. But we learned last week that DOE was cutting all of those grants to states. And because of the way the program was working, it was a reimbursement grant. So the state has some dollars, but the cut is essentially retroactive to September 30. So that work that we were counting on dollars that, again, where the state was in that pass-through role to us, that project will need to be basically ended or significantly cut. And then the third pot of dollars where we are anticipating seeing a cut, and this got kind of a lot of press attention, was around Homeland Security dollars. So I think you guys know we're the Homeland Security fiduciary, and we run the Northeast Regional Council, but we're the fiduciary for three other councils. We are not the fiduciary, nor do we oversee the UASI program, which is the Urban Area Initiative. That program received a very significant cut from the Department of Homeland Security in Boston. 13 other states, urban areas received very significant cuts in their UASI funding, and a lawsuit was filed almost immediately. On our side of the dollars that come in from Department of Homeland Security, they actually kept most of the dollars intact for the program itself. So the program itself did not see a cut in funding, but they specifically cut funding for the management of the program. And the intent there is that if the program itself pot of money stays the same, but you don't actually have dollars to get those dollars out the door, the program effectively is inoperable. So, like I said, there was a lawsuit that the news of that came down on like a Thursday or Friday evening, and by Sunday, states had already sued for these dollars. So we're in a bit of a limbo there. The judge did grant a temporary restraining order. They had to file a TRO, a temporary restraining order, because Department of Homeland Security didn't just cut funding, they reallocated it across the country. So for example, like my colleagues in the Houston, Galveston area lost all of their management funding, but they reallocated all of those dollars to other more rural parts of Texas instead of keeping them in the Houston, Galveston area. So they had to file a temporary restraining order because they couldn't let the money go out the door in that reallocated way. So it's the only way to like stop the process immediately. But that litigation I expect will be going on for a very long time. It is directly related to jurisdictions that have taken some kind of sanctuary or welcoming status. And so all of the entities that are involved in that lawsuit are alleging overreach. So the one other piece that is worth knowing about those Homeland Security dollars is that they are FY26 dollars. We're currently spending FY22 and 23 dollars. That's normal. That's usually how the dollars work for us on the program management side. So there'll be a little bit of time before we feel a really deep impact from the pullback of these dollars. But we absolutely would. It would dramatically impact our ability to run a Homeland Security program out of the agency. And, I think the other realistic challenge is that regardless of what happens with this particular lawsuit, we will expect to see something like this coming from the Department of Homeland Security every year. So it's like a tricky situation. Even if we end up getting some portion of these dollars, I think it's a hard road ahead. I'm gonna stop there. I do have a few other pieces I just want to highlight for you, but I want to see what questions you have about the dollars.
Go ahead, Sam.
So going back to the economic development work, so it's relatively small dollars. What is the work that we do? We work with communities as they work on their economic development planning, right?
Yeah, so it doesn't actually cover much of our economic development planning. So like if a community comes to us and says, we want to do an economic development plan, we want you to help us think through revitalizing our Main Street or downtown, or we want to do a study of our, historic business district and kind of understand that, those are planning dollars that usually come either through TAP or directly from the community. these dollars help our communities when they are trying to apply to EDA for that's Economic Development Administration's big infrastructure dollars. So over the years, and we play just like an extremely, most entities that are applying for EDA dollars, it takes probably, I would say on average, like 3 years before you're actually ready to apply, because it's like it's a big infrastructure project. And then the application, so we kind of shepherd that process with communities, and often we convening with community-based organizations or other partner stakeholders. So like we've done, some of our big EDA funded projects throughout the region are usually like extremely multifaceted. And so it's bringing together like a ton of partners to help shepherd that application process.
Okay. And it's your thought, our collective thought, that $70,000, we might be able to find ways to do that work regardless.
So we received funding from the Federal Funds and Infrastructure Office. You might remember that last year, the governor authorized the FFIO and capitalized their office with $12 million that was intended to be in technical assistance to cities and towns. FFIO they did kind of a road show. They were sort of sparsely attended conversations, but they ended up this year setting up a program where RPAs could apply for funding. So it's about, I want to say it's like about $1 million set aside, but it's over 2 years. Maybe it's $1 million each year. I can't honestly remember. But we are getting some of those FFIO dollars. And so we've already been in contact with them because all of our sister RPAs in Massachusetts lost these dollars as well. We've already all been in touch with FFIO about using those dollars to help backfill some of that support.
Okay.
We'll see if they say yes.
All right. So why don't if other people have questions, because I do have a couple other questions, but maybe
No, go ahead, Sam, for me.
so on the DOER, the building code stuff, that's literal building code work. So there's like updating building codes, et cetera, or something like that.
It was a project to kind of understand the code situation in Massachusetts and be able to put together a toolkit, make recommendations for cities and towns, kind of a classic MAPC bread and butter project. And honestly, we were bummed to lose the dollars. It will impact the clean energy team, but we were really bummed to lose the dollars because the project was cool.
Okay. But it's going basically as far as
Probably. We haven't actually received an official notice of cancellation, but we did get a notice from DOER that they have received their official notice of cancellation, and that it was retro to the end of September.
Okay.
We had been hoping to be able to we are still hoping we'll be, once the government reopens, we'll be able to be reimbursed for the work we actually did in September, but we're not entirely sure.
Okay. And then on Homeland Security, basically, so they've cut the management portion of the budget. Does that mean that there is no Homeland Security work going to happen in the state of Massachusetts? Is that what that means? Or in Boston region?
Unclear. I mean, EOPS to the grant, this is like another pass-through situation where the dollars go to EOPS and EOPS passes through to us to be in that fiduciary role. In theory, EOPS could run the program, but they don't currently have the staff capacity to be in that management position. I don't know like how that would happen.
But the underlying millions of dollars is still there if it could get gotten
out. It just can't, there's no way to unlock the door to get those millions of dollars out. Like there's no one who can actually like run the program to get it out. Right. It's like they closed the door and threw away the key, but behind the locked door is money.
Okay. All right. I don't know, maybe other people have questions at this point. I don't know. Otherwise I'll be quiet. So if nobody's asking about, just on our end, so where are we now? We're in FY26, right? So is this all going to show up in next year, in the mid-year, basically? Are we going to?
We'll see we'll see the loss of the planning funds in the mid-year, and we'll see the loss of the DOR codes dollars in the mid-year. These Homeland dollars, because it's a future fiscal year. You won't actually, you might see it in the mid-year, but only on the future fiscal year side, because it's not dollars that we would be programming this year. We have like another year and a half before we'd be programming those Homeland dollars.
All right. Okay. All right. I won't ask any more questions, but
It's
thank-
okay. You're
thank-
welcome to.
No,
It was
no,
a
no.
really
I just,
hard.
it's,
Last week was the week I shared all of this information with our directors. It was a really hard conversation. Folks had lots of questions.
right. But it doesn't translate into job losses
Not
yet.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, immediately after losing the codes grant, I had a conversation with the team about, because they have a new incoming hire, which was a backfill. And they immediately had questions about whether or not we'd be able to keep the backfill. And I think the answer is yes. But we need to glue everyone's feet to the floor. So
Yeah.
no one else can leave, because I think that would be a harder thing to justify.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Liz.
So I have two other updates I just want to share with you on federal issues. One of the things that has come up with staff is around, we hold a number of public events all throughout the region. Our public events, particularly in communities with high immigrant populations, are starting to become less widely attended. We're working on some guidance to staff about considerations for whether or not we should be holding in-person events, especially when our goal is to actually reach historically disenfranchised populations, which include high immigrant populations. So we are working on some of that information for staff, just to kind of like consider thoughtfully that guidance about when we're holding public events and not when we would do an event virtually. Because it might feel safer. At the same time, the AG's office sent out guidance about, particularly like for immigrant communities, they just updated their guidance about like when to be in a public space, what information you need to have. So we have shared that with staff. And then along those lines, you might remember we did, I guess it was like maybe 6 months ago now, we held a Know Your Rights training for municipal staff with ORI and our partners at Mira. And we are doing a round 2 of that. Again, it is geared towards municipal staff. So far, it is our most watched webinar on YouTube. It's been viewed over 2,300 times. And we're doing a round 2 of that, I think, next week. And we wanted to create a slightly smaller group because we're just like a little bit more concerned about the climate. And so we invited folks to attend that webinar session. I think it will be very well attended. We're going to be doing a separate secondary training for MAPC staff as well.
Right? Any questions?
I'm just gonna say what I always say, which is that there's a defense that what we have to play, but I also think that we also ought to model a version of America that is positive. And I don't know what that means or how that translates into your work at MAPC, but you're a good place to be doing some of that work because you do talk to cities and towns and mayors and council.
In our communities, I will say, like, if you get a chance, read the executive director's report. And I'm going to call this out in our XCOM meeting tomorrow, because all of the project work that we are doing, it is so impactful and it is so important. And it, if anything, leans more deeply into equity focused work, even in areas where we haven't historically, like we did the Disability Advocacy Day in Cambridge, and we were really involved in that. That's work that we've only done some over the course of the past couple of years. Like, we're leaning into equity priorities in even more meaningful ways at the agency. It's actually like, and I'm admittedly biased, but it's not just encouraging, it's also like comforting and makes your heart feel like, okay, we're investing in the right things.
Yeah.
It's not just that we're not backing away from it. It's that if anything, we're leaning in more.
Yes, and also to make the point that this is also a version of our country, our communities, our region, and things that are good. You know,
exactly.
I was hearing somebody say that there's a lot of defense, but not a lot of like, well, what would we do instead? And
anyway. And we're modeling that unquestionably. I will say, just anecdotally, when I was at an ARC last week, there was like one kind of like working session around civility in public discourse. And I started to go to that session because I thought it was going to be about how we address when, residents say something racist in a public meeting, how we're talking about de-escalation. But that actually wasn't the conversation at all. It was about actually people's general opposition to planners like doing the work that we do and serving communities the way that we serve communities. And I was like, oh, that isn't our challenge in Massachusetts. We have other challenges around civility, and, good democracy, but that is not one of them. And I felt like good walking away from that session because that is not what I see.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else for
Great.
this section, Lizzie?
Nothing else for this.
Yeah, I think you've said enough.
Yeah.
Is there any other business not known at the time of the posting of this agenda?
I just wanted to let you all know that I was invited to participate in the Civic Action Project as a fellow. So this is a program that George Bachrach and Ira, I can't remember his last name, run. And they essentially bring together like municipal leaders and business leaders together in this like 8-week program. It does come with a cost. There's a tuition associated with it, and I'm glad to email you about that. But I wanted to let you know that I was invited to join this year's cohort. It's all in this. It's like 8 weeks in the spring, so it's like beginning of March until mid-April. And I hope I get to do it. I'd be with Adam, which would be fun.
Sounds great. And I would just share that our next officers meeting is Monday, November 3rd.
Yep.
In person.
Yeah.
At 9:30.
Yeah.
All right.
And we have officers tomorrow
Executive.
and council meeting in 2 weeks.
Yes. So we have executive, yes. So we have
Executive,
executive committee tomorrow at
Tomorrow.
11:30, which is October 15th. And then we have the fall council meeting on October 29th in scenic Arlington. Very exciting for that, in person, obviously.
Mhm.
And then we'll be together. Yeah, it's like back to back to back weeks.
Yes.
All together. And then the following week, November 3rd, which is the Monday, is our next officers meeting in person.
Yes.
All right.
Right. And tomorrow is virtual.
Yes. Tomorrow's virtual because we want everyone to come to council in 2 weeks.
Yes. So if there is nothing else, at this time, I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
All right,
Nice.
I'm going to say Sam made that motion and Imai seconded it. Roll call required. All the Imai,
Aye.
Sam,
Aye.
and Erin, aye. And with that, our officers meeting is adjourned at 11:49 a.m. Thank you all for coming. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you virtually.